Hello everyone, welcome back to Film and Flash, and today we're reviewing the Minolta Maxxum 350 SI. This camera was released in the 1990s, specifically around 1995 to 1997. It is a autofocus camera which uses a through-the-lens light metering system. It has, I believe, six modes up top. Program, which is simply a nothing mode. It's basically auto exposure, auto aperture, auto shutter speed, without any specific prerequisites. I don't know how you say it. There's your portrait mode right there, landscape, close up, sport, and night portrait. Obviously, they are pretty straightforward. Sport mode will tell the shutter speed to raise because it is meant to freeze a fast-moving subject. Night portrait will obviously adjust the exposure to compensate for a uh, longer shutter open time. Portrait tells you to focus on the nearest subject. Landscape will try to focus on a general scene instead of the middle point. Close-up will basically tell the lens to focus on the very closest object instead of trying to read a more uh, middle point subject. Has a hot shoe up top for the flash or light meters. It has buttons that will toggle the flash right here, and buttons to enable the red light flash as well. This is the button to toggle the modes. This is your on and off button. This is your self timer button and your double exposure and single exposure. To load your film, you'll open this right here. You have a panorama mode on this camera, which to use panorama mode, you will, not oscillate this little switch right here. To load your film, you will obviously, blah, blah, blah. Just make sure you go to the orange point right here, wrap it around a little bit and close it. And then it'll automatically advance to your first exposure. It has a tripod mount right down here. This is the button you click to rewind your film. You just press and hold that, and it'll automatically rewind your film till it gets to 0. This was made in Osaka, Japan. Well, it wasn't. It was Minolta Co. in Osaka, Japan, but it was made in Malaysia. You load your batteries down here. It takes, I don't not have it written down. Where is it at? It takes 2 CR5 batteries, which are very common. However, you're not going to be able to really find them in drugstores. It's going to be one of those things you're probably going to have to purchase online or go to a camera shop. To change your lenses, you will press this button down here, rotate your lens counterclockwise, grab the lens you're going to be using, and then line the red dots, and then rotate clockwise. And now your lens is on there and ready to rock. The current lens that I'm running on it is a 50mm autofocus lens. All of the lenses I have for this camera are autofocus lenses, except I do have some lenses in my basement that would fit on this and work. It will accept manual focus lenses, so any Minolta A-mount lens will work, or even Sony A-mount, as far as I'm aware, should fit on it as well. Obviously, it's a pain to get these caps to go back on. There we go. It is obviously an autofocus camera. To change from autofocus to manual focus, you can simply press that right there. And I'm wondering, when you do that, what it'll actually do is it'll disengage the little gears that are rotating in the camera to accelerate the lens. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See how there's no resistance and it's smooth? Watch what happens when you put it back on autofocus. You can feel the motor resisting, which is not good for the motor at all. Do not ever try and do that, because one, it's a pain, and it ruins the motor. Let me show you now. Right here, I believe, is your little... Actually, I could be able to tell you. Oh, that's a good question now. I'm wondering if there's a little motor that drives the focus, or if it's... I wonder if it's a motor that drives the focus, or if there's a motor built into the lens. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. So a lot of times, on the higher end cameras, there's a physical motor that will drive the lens, but sometimes there's built-in motors, and what kind of leads me to believe that it's a built-in motor is those little uh, bronze points, which are obviously information relay points. So it's either for the light metering system or it's for the autofocus. Could be for both. But while we wait, oh wait, it's not hooked up to Wi-Fi. I will put that in the description. Obviously, this is a button you press to do your shutter speed. You will half press it to focus on your subject, and then fully press it to take the photo. This camera will allow you to input dates. If you do have the battery in there, you'll basically set the date back here, and then it will flash the date onto your film. That is basically all of the physical how to use this camera. Now we'll go over, some other things. Through the lens metering, obviously, so it is going to read the light that is coming through the lens. So it's going to read the same light that's going to be in your photo. It is simple. I believe it's 6-point or 5-point metering. So it does take more than just the center point, which is definitely a better metering system, especially for a camera in, this category, which would be a point and shoot camera and beginner camera. Its autofocus system's pretty bad. It's great for, portraits and daylight photography. Not very good for low contrast and night photography, unfortunately. But there are a lot more positives than there really are negatives of this camera. It's extremely lightweight. That being said, the lightweight is obviously a trade-off for it being mostly all plastic. I found that the camera itself obviously isn't very durable, but that the shutter mechanism itself is pretty durable and can handle repeated exposures for a long time before giving you any kind of issue. Let's see. What's neat about the exposure system in this camera, or in general, the camera itself has a brain where programmers went and they took multiple photographers, obviously, but the programmers helped, took a bunch of photos of various scenes and referenced them to, well, basically they input those scenes into code and put that in the camera, and the camera will analyze the scenes and look for similarities to the scenes that it was taught, and will then make adjustments based on what the adjustments were made in those scenes. So say it took a picture of a sunset. Well, that sunset, that lighting in that sunset is inside the camera as code. And what's going to happen is that camera is going to read a scene, which is obviously going to be a sunset in this situation, and it's going to reference that to the code that it already has, and then we'll adjust the aperture and shutter speed based off of that. So it's pretty cool. We saw that on the Nikon FA, which is the first real example of that. The Canon 81 program did a very more simple version of this. That was the first intelligent microcomputer metering system that, we've ever seen at that time. And it's obviously way more common today. It's actually how all cameras really do it nowadays. But just a little fun fact. That is basically everything about this camera. Would I recommend this camera? I would say this camera is good for beginners and people looking for just a film aesthetic without a heavy camera or a whole bunch of complex dials. It's going to give you enough for almost any kind of photography you're going to do, except for really creative photography. So I would say this camera is pretty good for beginners, but not for beginners looking to be professional. If you are just someone who wants to take photos, perfect. But if you were someone who wants to eventually take, you know, professional level photos with all kinds of creative abilities, you know, variable shutter speeds, variable aperture, you know, manual control over your camera, which you do not have on this camera, you will definitely want to go for something that is a manual automatic hybrid, like not like the brand, like a I would go with for something like this, probably a Nikon N90S, which is actually extremely affordable and one of the most, you know, incredible cameras of its time. The abilities are just out of this world. It's basically a professional camera in a affordable price tag at the same time. That would be a great camera. Now, this camera, obviously, the lenses are going to be cheaper than Nikon lenses, which is why a lot of people like Minolta. But um, they're not going to be as high quality as like Nikon. But they do make pretty good aftermarket lenses that will give you a little bit better quality than what Minolta puts out. Minolta is known for having some incredible lenses, though. Don't get me wrong, but obviously it's kind of hard to compete with Nikon. But they were some of the best film lenses that you could get back then. So I would recommend this as a backup camera for sure because of how light it is. So if you're like someone who's running a rig, uh, you know, this could definitely be a camera you could have in your bag in case your, you know, camera ever messes up on you. But then you'd probably be better off with one of the lighter, more advanced manual auto hybrids as well. But, you know, at the end of the day, it really just matters what your priorities are. This is going to be so much better if you don't want to mess up a shot and you are like fast paced. It would be perfect for sport photography, in my opinion, except for how slow its autofocus system is. So if you're like doing golfing, perfect. Golfing is the most boring sport. This camera is perfect for golfing. If by chance you were looking for a film camera to take photos golfing with, that's perfect. But I wouldn't use this lens. I would use this lens because it will allow you to change the millimeters of the lens and definitely give you a little bit of zooming properties as well. Prime lenses aren't very good for, you know, certain types of photography. That's why you see most sporting events people are using longer lenses. It's because they have variable millimeters. Anyway, yeah, I'd recommend it. I mean, just go ahead. If you just want to take photos on film, this is the easiest camera ever. However, if you're a serious photographer or you're, you know, just want to have fun with your camera, you'd be better off with manual auto hybrid or just a manual camera. I have tons of just only manual cameras. They are a little bit of a pain and are like impossible to use for fast-paced photography, but there's just something about them that's very appealing. They're just calming and they really make you pay attention to what the kind of photo you're taking. Now, the factory strap for these cameras is okay. I have found it's not the most comfortable. It's better than the slop that Nikon gives you. So that's something. I know I mentioned Nikon a lot. I am not like one of those Nikon glazers, I swear. But uh, it's just a very common film camera reference point. So this is obviously a little cute bag for it. It's obviously probably not going to come with yours, but it's nice. You can pick up this camera for probably, in this condition, $30. With lenses and stuff, you might be paying a little bit more. But overall, this camera is a pretty good option. Only through the eyes at Minolta.